Okay, my name is Robert Smith, and this debate is on further advancement of organic agriculture in the United States. My opponent is Gonzalo, and this will be my first negative. He begins outlining some of the basic positive characteristics of genetically modified organisms and/or genetically engineered systems for basically anything good that can come of these. And he had a great point: synthetic GMO insulin from E. coli. Apparently, some doctor was able to propagate human insulin from genetic engineering in the bacteria E. coli. While this states a very strong point on genetic engineering and some of the positive outcomes, it doesn't necessarily pertain topically to organic agriculture in the U.S. and whether or not we should further it or not. The fact that GMO food may, makes up almost 100% of Americans' diets doesn't necessarily relate to the fact that we were able to genetically engineer insulin out of a bacteria. It has nothing to do with food consumption, and therefore I don't think it had, topically, I don't think it has anything to do with the subject. Um, However, and then going back to genetic engineering for humanity, I mean, genetic engineering is great when you're not eating it every day and it's potentially causing cancer, or basically it's a roll of the dice. Because to be perfectly honest, there's not enough research out there to basically specify whether or not this is healthy or harmful. Um, GMO crops consume. He had a great point with the fact that GMO crops consume less water. They grow in harsher environments and they produce less carbon dioxide. While that may be true, he also he forgot to state that the genetically modified organisms in crops and in animals are basically there to, especially in crops, are there to basically prevent herbicide or increase herbicide tolerance and increase disease resistance, which is one of the two of the things that he forgot to mention. Those are intrinsic to this topic, and the reason why is because herbicide tolerance and disease resistance within plants is actually the main thing that's driving the debate about whether or not GMO foods are safe for consumption. Um, we're talking about viruses, fungal infections, bacterial infections that cause diseases in plants. And the reason why this is so important is because when we increase the herbicide or we change something genetically with a plant, that microbe actually has the ability, or that gene in the plant has the ability to basically morph or adapt, if you will, into something that a human may not be able to process, and in which case is basically making the bacteria adapt and then causing harsher, more hard to kill strains of bacteria, in which case, at the end of the day, humans are the ones paying the price here, not the plants, because they get to stay alive. However, if they get eaten, the humans are the ones that are paying the price. GMO crops feed populations, and that, something that is partially true, and that's a great point. But I'd like to go back again to the World Press Organization. President Levi Mwanawasa of Zambia, along with several other countries in Africa, refused U.S. food donations and he basically strike them down and said that they are poison. Now that's pretty impactful coming from somebody who's running a country of over 14 million people on the brink of starvation and death. 2.3 million of them happen to be children under the age of 5. So for the president to say that that's poison and I will not feed my people that, I think that speaks volumes about what the real situation here is, circulating genetically modified organisms in our food. Um, and then he says we can't get rid of GMOs because people will starve. I absolutely agree. The plan is to increase organic agriculture and hopefully someday increase the benefit of the food that we eat rather than decreasing the benefit. Moving forward, he also was explaining about organic agriculture is bad for the planet. Point in case, milk. Dairy cows on organic farms are pumped full of hormones and they produce less milk. His ratio was 25 organic cows to 23 regular industrial cows. You know what? I'll take the 25 over the 23. That's not a big spread. It's not a big difference, especially when we look at a study done by a by Kahn in 1994, the FDA approved Monsanto's RBGH, which is recombinant bovine growth hormone, for use on dairy cows. Following that, scientists were weary about this because they knew that it would result in insulin-like growth factor in the cows, which is actually linked to 400 and almost 500% increasing the risk of cancer, whether it be breast, colon, or prostate cancer. So a 500% increase in the risk of getting cancer simply from drinking milk. But it gets worse. Moving forward, the contention was that they could kill this hormone in the pasteurization process, in which case they actually boil milk for a total of 30 seconds. What two Monsanto scientists found in their research, Ted Elasser and Brian McBride, was that they could only kill 19% of that hormone in the milk, and that was after 30 minutes of boiling, not the lesser 30 seconds, which is the usual done on dairy milk. So that, again, is speaking about the impact of what we're doing to our food here, and I think it's just the writing is on the wall, basically. If we can't even kill it after almost increasing the pasteurization process in milk by tenfold, then what's the benefit here? The risk of cancer, so we can have some milk. The risk of possibly dying and basically having huge detriment to human health, and even possibly shortening the lifespan based on what these GMOs are doing to our body. And the truth of the matter, underlying all of this contention and all of this argument and debate, is the simple fact that we do not know what GMOs do. We just don't know. Gonzalo then goes on to point out the fact that there's less demand for organic agriculture in the market. And unfortunately, that's just not true either. According to the Organic World Trade Association, organic sales of food and beverage have grown from $1 billion in 1990 to $26 billion in 2010, showing a 7.7% growth in produce alone. So I think it's pretty clear here that the demand for organic agriculture has risen, and that demand needs to be met with more supply. And I'm not talking about getting rid of GMOs. I'm simply talking about increasing the amount of organic agriculture so that it can be readily available. That is all. Thank you.